Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Usabata Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. More trouble for Chinese national Aisha Wang as the Attorney General says he will appeal the sentence imposed on her for the application of the new sentencing regime. We'll give you details of that plus reactions from some lawyers who have described the 4 years and 6 months jail sentence as not punitive enough. And this is what the Attorney General has been talking about. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. We'll give you details of that shortly. Also, Ghana exits United Nations Security Council after expiration of the 2-year term, or assess the country's performance on the council so far. Also this evening, thousands of inhabitants of Efutu demonstrate in Winneba to register their displeasure and anger over mining of lithium by the mining firm Green Metals Resources in the Mune Pomaze Ramsar site. We have details of this, plus the latest in business, sports and entertainment coming up over the next 60 minutes here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're also live on Facebook and X. We're streaming at 3FM 927, and your thoughts, views, comments and opinions are welcome here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's get into it now. I am Alfred Ocansey. Remember, Hot Edition is proudly brought to you by Old Mutual. They say do great things every day. The Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, says he will appeal the sentence imposed on Chinese national Aisha Wang by the Accra High Court. He believes the court should have applied the new legal regime, which allows courts to impose a minimum of 15 years jail term on persons who engage in mining contrary to the law. The High Court slapped Aisha Wang with a 4-year, 6 months jail term and a fine of 48,000 cedis after it found her guilty of committing various mining offenses. Attorney General Godfrey Yeboah-Dame has, in a statement, served notice his office will be seeking a review of the sentence imposed, indicating that his office wants the new sentencing regime applied by the court. Now, the new legal regime allows the court to impose a minimum fine of 120,000 cedis and a maximum of 180,000 cedis on a person who undertakes a mining operation without a license. It also allows a minimum jail term of 15 years and a maximum of 25 years to be imposed. Meanwhile, the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Ocansey, had earlier expressed satisfaction with the decision of the court, saying Aisha Wang was prosecuted under an old law which gave 5 years as the maximum sentence.
Arrest someone and you charge him for committing an offense some time ago. If you are able to prosecute him successfully and he's to be sentenced, the sentence then should be the sentence that you can use. You cannot use the new regime. And so far the sentence then was to the fact that the maximum of 5 years, we think that's the right position of the law. We can also not amend our constitution at this stage, but that's the law even worldwide. At the time they commit the offense, the punishment there is what you are supposed to be given when you are convicted for that offense. We are aware of it. That's why we came to court, and we knew that the maximum that we could get would be 5 years. There's someone that has gotten her name in the media a lot. Today, she's come to the end of the road. We're able to successfully prosecute her. She's going to spend 4 years, 6 months in custody. It should be a lesson to the others that you may be engaging in illegal mining, but when your time comes, the law will deal with you in accordance with what you had. So it's a fight that we have not won. It's a fight that is a continuous one. As I just said, we all need to take part in the fight. Aisha is going today. The next time we come to court, if others have committed similar offenses, they also have their day in court.
Well, that's the Deputy Attorney General, Alfred Ocansey, expressing the satisfaction of the Attorney General's office to this 4 years, 6 months. But we woke up today with a press statement from the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, indicating that he is going to appeal this, what has been described as a meager and less stiffer punishment given to Aisha Wang. Now, the number of lawyers had questioned why this 4 years, 6 months was slapped on Aisha 1 when we could have used a much more stiffer legal regime to get here the 15 years minimum for such offenses. One of such lawyers is Justice Abdullah, is a private legal practitioner, as a lecturer at the UPSL Law School, is joining us on the telephone. Lawyer Justice Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. It appears
that...
It's
great being with you,
Alfred. Great. It appears that your position on this ruling seems to have gotten the attention of the Attorney General, who has indicated his decision to appeal this 4 years and 6 months jail term slapped on Aisha 1. What's your take on this new position by the AG?
I think this is a vindication indeed of our outcry over the rather unfortunate sentencing that was passed. Remember, our position was that the conviction was good, but considering the plethora of evidence that the Attorney General himself at the time told the entire nation that they had. And indeed, the Attorney General in the press release indicated that they actually called 11 good witnesses. And there were video evidence and other pictorial evidence to support their claim. It is not in doubt that indeed the legal regime at the time was a previous act. But our concern is that why would the offenses, the sentences be made to run concurrently? All these conversations wouldn't have happened if the sentences were made to run consecutively, so that it could have been the same 4.5 years, but you'd rather have a longer period of time. The offenses that were similar could probably be the same. The fact that the Attorney General is considering appealing, and in this press release actually intending to appeal, tells you that they find wisdom in our position that possibly something else could have been done about the sentences that were slapped on the lady. Because really, remember that if a sentence is made to run concurrently, you are running the highest. But what if you made to run subsequent to each other? Then it means that you serve each of these. And the legal regime allows for that, depending on the circumstances of each given case. And this particular case, I am convinced, was one of such cases that the sentences could have been allowed to run in that manner, to at least, even if it was going to be the same 4.5 years, if it had been made to run subsequently, would have had a longer sentence, a longer period in custody. And so at least with this alone, I think we can rest assured that indeed we are making some headway with our outcry, and the public and indeed the Ghanaians win ultimately.
Indeed, and you were very consistent about this. And if you look at the press statement from Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, the last point 11, and I read verbatim, it says, whilst applauding the efficiency, quote, of the justice delivery system witnessed in the trial of Aisha 1, the Attorney General will, however, test the soundness of the decision of the trial court to punish the accused person under Act 900 by filing an appeal at the Court of Appeal against the sentencing in order to ensure that the new sentencing regime imposed by Act 995 is applied to the accused person. So apart from your point about the case, the judgment, that's the jail term not running consecutively instead of concurrently, there is this bit about now the AG wanting Aisha 1 to be prosecuted under the new sentencing regime imposed by Act 995 as against the judge's reliance on Act 900. Now, what's your take on that? Because the Deputy Attorney General explained that considering the time that this trial of Aisha 1 started, that probably explains why the judge relied on Act 900 instead of 995.
So, you see, it appears that the judiciary and the prosecution in that score appear to be at the time on that position. And indeed, a lot of lawyers are also on that same position, that offenses that occur at a time that a particular punishment or legal regime did not exist, constitutionally cannot be made, nobody can be made to suffer the penalty in the new regime. I mean, I think it's quite fundamental, basic law. But if it is that fundamental and basic, why would the AG that pushed this position on us right after the judgment was delivered now be seeking to overturn the same sentencing regime with this with this press release that has been that captures this position? What's the point? Particularly knowing that the Court of Appeal may not be able to do that kind of legal gymnastics that the AG seeks. The Supreme Court is the only forum that you can have that interpretation occurring, and indeed, if they appear to be in support of a different version of the understanding, basic understanding that we all have, that is where you can have jurisdiction to have this new regime imposed. But definitely not the Court of Appeal, because the Court of Appeal would be restrained by the same understanding that it also has, if it has the similar understanding of the Constitution. And indeed, the regime that the Aisha one was charged with.
I see. So you instead of an appeal, you want the AG to seek some sort of interpretation at the Supreme Court.
Alfred, it's not actually a wish. It is based on the position of the AG, which was captured right by their deputy, and even in this letter. Even this same press release appears to emphasize the same position, that so long as the legal regime at the time that the offenses were committed are in reference, there's no way Aisha could have been sentenced to more than the number of years that she was sentenced with. That's i.e. More than 5 years. So if in the same letter you are saying that you are appealing, what are you then appealing? I don't know whether it sounds logical to you. I mean, it's
Indeed.
clearly just playing with words. You have admitted in this same letter that there's nothing you could have done, but you are still appealing. Who are you kidding?
It's a very, very important point there. But you see, beyond a number of these derivations that you have just made, what should be, in the case of an appeal that the AG is now going on, would there be a possibility that the AG can get Aisha 1 to be prosecuted under the new legal regime imposed by Act 995? Is that a possibility?
Once a person has been convicted, there is a legal principle called ultra force acquit or ultra force convict in this particular case. That you cannot try a person double. The principle of double jeopardy. You cannot do that. You can only go on appeal and others and his route. So at this moment, my main issue is that the route the AG seeks to impose stiffer punishment looks almost impossible. It looks almost impossible. Not just based on the AG's position, but also based on the AG's projected understanding of the legal regime at the time the offenses were committed.
And you make reference to because of this particular legal principle, it's going to be difficult.
So the only avenue available is not the Court of Appeal, but the Supreme Court, because they are the ones who can interpret and stretch the law to mean what ordinarily may not necessarily mean you and I.
And we'll see how the coming days will look like on this matter, but I do appreciate
to live to see that.
I do appreciate your time as always. Justice Abdullahi, thank you. Thank you so much. Justice Abdullahi is a private legal practitioner, is a lecturer at the UPSC Law School, joining us with his thoughts on this. You're live here on Hot Edition. So the Attorney General, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, has voiced his dissatisfaction with the relatively lenient prison term and fine imposed on Aisha 1, a Chinese illegal mining kingpin, by an Accra High Court yesterday. In a press statement released earlier today, Godfrey Yeboah-Dame, Attorney General, expressed bewilderment, in fact, at the trial judge's decision to sentence Aisha 1 under the old law, Act 900. In fact, he concurred with critics who argued that the 4.5-year prison term and 48,000 fine handed to Aisha 1 did not align with the gravity of her actions under Act 995. So essentially, what the Attorney General is saying in an 11-point press statement is that, yes, they express satisfaction for the relatively swift manner, just a little over a year, in which the justice has been dispensed in this case of Aisha 1, but same underscores the commitment to the punishment of illegal mining offenses, whilst applauding the efficiency of the justice delivery system witnessed in the trial of Aisha 1. The Attorney General will, however, test the soundness of the decision of the trial court to punish the accused person under Act 900 by filing an appeal at the Court of Appeal against the sentence of 4 years and 6 months in order to ensure that the new sentencing regime imposed by Act 995 is applied to the accused person, which could see Aisha going in for not less than 15 years. So we'll see how the outcome and the process of this appeal going to be instituted by the Attorney General will play out in the coming days. But Ghana will end its membership of the United Nations Security Council by close of year 2023. This is because the country's 2-year term on the high-level body will expire in December after it was voted onto the council in June 2021. Ghana, for the first time on the African continent, is hosting the United Nations Security Ministers meeting in Accra. The U.S. representative on the United Nations, Ambassador Linda Thomas-Greenfield, described Ghana as a doyen of peace and called on other countries to emulate that. Meanwhile, sustainable peace building, economic independence, and civilian protection will be the focus as Ghana hosts the UN Peacekeeping Ministerial Meeting. The high-level gathering aims to secure crucial political support and concrete commitments to enhance United Nations peacekeeping efforts to address current and future challenges and the needs. Jean-Pierre Lachere, and the Secretary General for Peace Operations in the United Nations, had this to say.
We need the recommitment of your country, the political recommitment to peacekeeping. And I think that the fact that so many of you have come to Accra is a reflection of that strong commitment. It is very heartening to see this level of attendance and this expression of such a strong dedication to peacekeeping. We need that because peacekeeping, as the UN as a whole, we are operating against the backdrop of a more divided world, a more divided international community. And this is a reason why, another reason or additional reason why we value so much this level of commitment. Now, we also look forward to that meeting because it provides us with an opportunity to celebrate the achievements of our peacekeepers. And I repeat, it is important to celebrate their achievement. Every single day, they preserve ceasefire. Every single day, they protect the lives of hundreds of thousands of civilians.
Now, Ghana's Foreign Affairs Minister Shirley Ayoko Boche indicates the meeting provides a platform for comprehensive peace building.
The challenges we face demand sustained commitment and collaboration. I urge each participant to translate the insights gained and the commitments made during our time together here into tangible actions that will contribute to peaceful and a global peace and security. It is my hope that our time together during the technical sessions of the ministerial meeting would be marked by a rich tapestry of ideas, perspectives, and collaborative efforts, as well as the continuous collective commitment by all member states geared towards the strengthening of the United Nations peacekeeping operations in line with the Secretary General's action on peacekeeping together with the A4P+ members.
Our ministers and delegates from more than 85 countries are expected to be in attendance. I've been joined on the telephone by international relations expert, security analyst with the Jakite Center for Human Security. Adib Sani is joining us. Adib, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. Now, Ghana has been on this UN Security Council for 2 years now. What would you say has been the high points for the country while serving over the 2-year period?
Well, we have shown exceptional leadership. We've shown fairness. We've only earned a lot more respect. That is why I'm a very ardent believer in non-alignment, and it is because of our non-aligned posture that we've been able to earn that respect over the period. It's been a very difficult, responsibility, I must say, owing to how turbulent the international community is and the politics that characterizes the work of the United Nations. But that notwithstanding, we've been able to perform outstandingly. Our biggest challenge, I must say, has been what is going on with the Israelis and Hamas, and the fact that a lot has happened and the UN has been left in a very tight corner. Indeed, Antonio Guterres had some things to say about it, which didn't go down well with the Israelis, who called for his resignation. So it was a very difficult situation for us as a member of the council. But surely it's been worth the journey, and like I indicated, it has earned us more trust within the international space. That is why it is not surprising that we have had consistently really very important international events. This is on the back of a recently held Commonwealth Summit, which I was very much part of at the Accra International Conference Center. So surely this is a plus for Ghana.
I see. But if you recall, one of the major issues that got a lot of people talking about Ghana's position on the UN Security Council was this one you just made reference to, the Gaza war. Ghana abstained from the votes at the Security Council rejecting this Russia resolution on the Gaza war. And this was a crucial session at the UN Security Council just about a month ago. The decision by Ghana to abstain from voting on that resolution proposed by Russia concerning the conflict in Gaza then raised questions about exactly why that position was taken. I don't know if you share in that concern that was raised about Ghana's decision on this particular issue.
Well, it's a very dicey issue, Alfred. And but if you realize, our foreign policy has changed a bit. I mean, we've become a bit cold towards Russia. The Russia-Africa Summit, which was attended by a lot of African leaders, Ghana was, conspicuously missing from that summit. And we also know about what the president had to say in the U.S. about the activities of Wagner at the borders. So Ghana has maintained a certain cold attitude towards Russia. But what I see is it tilts towards the West. You get me? And our foreign minister is interested in the Commonwealth presidency, and she stands a big chance. So you become very, very, you exercise a great deal of diligence so far as some of these things is concerned in order not to enter certain books. But we are a sovereign country. I mean, it's within our right to pick whichever way we want it to go. But surely in diplomacy, it becomes a very, very dicey game. I mean, like they say, diplomacy is the art of telling someone to go to hell in a very nice way. The person might ask you for direction. So if you understand diplomacy, you would get to understand that when it comes to protecting the interest of the state, there is nothing like morality.
But do you get concerned sometimes about the seeming inconsistency in Ghana's foreign policy position?
Yes, surely. Because when Hamas attacked Israel, immediately we issued a statement and we called on Hamas to withdraw from Israeli territory. And I was wondering whether the writer or the author of that statement understood the conflict. For your information, a lot of the territories Gaza went into, I'm not just trying the attack. It was gruesome. It was a terrorist attack. No denying that fact. The territory the Hamas invaded under international law is Palestinian territory. Okay. However, now we have Israel bombing Palestinians. There's a humanitarian crisis. So far, about 15,000 people have been killed. Close to half of them more than half of them are women and children. But Ghana hasn't said anything, interestingly. And I'm not surprised because we live in a country where you pick and choose. I mean, when George Floyd died, the president spoke about it. In fact, a funeral was held in Ghana. However, when some soldiers invaded Ashama and some gross human rights violations happened, the president didn't see the need to talk about it. So, I mean, it's become quite interesting. But, I mean, what do we do about it?
Dave, I appreciate your time. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us here.
Pleasure is mine.
Additional Deep Sani is an international and security relations expert joining us with his thoughts on this. Thank you very much. Now, thousands of inhabitants of Efutu have this morning demonstrated in Winneba in the central region to register their displeasure and anger over the intended mining of lithium by the mining firm Green Metals Resources in the Muni Pomadze Ramsar site in Winneba. The group threw its weight behind the Efutu and Gomo traditional councils and vowed to resist any attempt to ignore the caution not to enter the area for mining. Dr. James Kofi Annan is the leader of the group of concerned citizens of Efutu. We'll bring you that shortly, but the Member of Parliament for the Efutu constituency, Alexander Penyumakin, has denied claims that the forest in Efutu, where the people hunt for deers during the Abacha festival, has been sold for lithium mining.
The NDC in my constituency has come out with a serious allegation to the effect that government officials, including my office, sat on concern and got the sacred forest of Efutu where we go for deer hunting. The place has been sold for the mining of lithium. I simply want to say that this allegation is false, it's never true, and in fact the Minerals Commission 2 years ago issued a statement to the effect that such an application has not even been received by them, let alone approving for a company to mine lithium in that sacred forest where we hunt for deer during our Abacha festival. So I just want to set the record straight, put it on record, that there is no such thing. I would want, therefore, to urge my colleagues in the NDC to focus on the real challenges facing our people so that we engage on issues rather than polluting the minds of people, misinforming and lying. Such a practice does not help in democracy. So basically that's the point I want to make. This morning, I am reliably informed that the Minerals Commission Chief Executive in a national dialogue has had cause to again reiterate that that which is being put out there by the NDC in Efutu is untrue, unfounded, and he, as a chief executive of the Minerals Commission, hasn't signed any agreement, any lease agreement for the purposes of mining of lithium in that enclave where we hunt for deers.
Well, there's also Alexander Penyumakin there. And we're going to be hearing from the residents of Efutu who went on a demonstration about this lease that has been granted this company, Green Metals Resources, to mine lithium in this Ramsar site in Winneba. But Seth Wolashime is a natural resources expert and then also a mining consultant. Is joining us. Wolashime, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. First off, anytime this conversation about the lithium comes up, the position by the Minerals Commission and indeed the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources is that this is the best deal Ghana can ever have in this lithium agreement. Is this the best deal we could have ever had?
Good evening, Alfred, and good evening to your cherished listeners. This lithium business is becoming quite contentious, and I think that it is for a good reason. Government always saying that the lithium agreements that they signed are the best Ghana can get is completely, false. False because, this mineral is going to become the mineral of the 21st century because the world is moving away from fuel-run cars to electric cars. So lithium is going to be needed for the batteries of these electric cars. And so I believe that anyone that has a deposit of lithium in their jurisdiction should be able to benefit from it, in the maximum way, not signing these agreements that will give you 15 or 20% and then you will be clapping for yourself.
I see. So, in effect, it cannot be said that this is the best deal Ghana could have ever had, contrary to what the president, for instance, has said on this matter.
I don't buy that, Alfred, because, some of these mines, as we go forward, should be owned partly by the government or the people of the country. Because if you look at the investment involved, even if you had to go borrow money and invest, you will make much, much more profit than just, resigning yourself to getting royalties and then a small percentage of the operation. It's a completely false assertion.
I see. So now we're seeing the people of Efutu, for instance, demonstrate because of the possible impact of mining of the lithium and the forest where they hunt for deers for the Abacha festival. Now, instead of the member of parliament's position has been taking is blaming the NDC people in the area for doing this. What should be the response of assurance to the people that indeed their fears would not materialize, that the forest that they depend on for this festival will not be touched?
First of all, I think that mining in forest reserves in this country is prohibited, and that should be the norm. It doesn't matter what kind of mineral you find there. I think that some of these things must be preserved for posterity. So, if they can be able to prospect for lithium elsewhere and not in the forest reserve, I think that should be it. And no leases should be granted in forest reserves. I don't buy that.
So, I appreciate your time. And very quickly, before we go, the last time I had a conversation with the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources on this matter, the argument they always make is that the reason why Ghana will not be able to get, for instance, a 50-50 share of the revenue from minerals is because of the heavy investments that some of these companies make in discovery, the process of also exploration of these minerals, and then also gathering of the seismic data. And based on that, we cannot go into a negotiation asking for a fair share of 50-50.
It is not true, Alfred. Everything has to be evaluated based on value for money. And like I said before, if you have to go and borrow money and invest in something that will yield profit, I think that is better. They borrow for other useless things.
Apologies, we lost Setwala Shime there, and he is a mining consultant joining us on this lithium matter and the demonstration by the people of Efutu. We'll try to reconnect with him here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We have a number of stories now as the election monitoring and security team have been meeting, in fact, to also map out strategy ahead of the election 2024. And the Inspector General of Police, Dr. George Ekufu-Dampare, has been speaking at this meeting.
Keep ensuring that every election that is conducted, there is peace, security, law and order, so that Ghana, our beloved country, at times they say Ghana, our motherland, but if you are matrilineal inclined, it is all right, Ghana. So whichever way we look at it, we have only one Ghana, and we who sit here collectively as professionals and as citizens and patriotic one another.
So let's stay a bit further on this. And Dr. Adam Bona is a security analyst joining us with his thoughts on this matter. Dr. Bona, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. First of all, these conversations about security going into election 2024 and the considerations that the IGP talks about, what are some of the major issues that should also engage the minds of the security agencies going into election 2024?
Coordination. Good evening, Alfred. Coordination and who is in charge and at what point you call for backup and which areas, locations, the flashpoints, the areas that since 1992 have been noted to be flashpoints, the new flashpoints, the areas that, from Intel, looking at the internal elections of the MPP NDC were noted to be flashpoints. Looking at the areas where the conversation can just not stop. Looking at the areas where the people have threatened to vote cat and blouse. And looking at the areas where the ruling party has vowed to win or to recapture, and then the opposition party has also vowed to win or to recapture. These should be, areas of concern for the security task force, and I'm happy that the IGP and his colleagues have come together early to get this thing done. The other area I want them to look at, if I had the opportunity to probably talk to them, which I, found a way to let them get that information. It has to do with the early voters. Early voters has always been something that has never been done smoothly. And so they should start early, start compiling the names of early voters. Because then the early voters are the people who sometimes decide who wins the election. But if the EC waits or the security agencies wait, and the list of early voters doesn't reach the EC, and the EC doesn't also work with it, with that alacrity that it needs, he waits a day before the election, and security officers, teachers, and other people who probably media men who are not supposed to be voting on D-Day, who are supposed to vote earlier than D-Day, now have to go and be queuing. Then you see you are literally just putting the election into jeopardy from the word go. So these are some of the areas that now that they've started early, we need to start pointing out to them to let them sort them out. 2022 would have passed as one of the best peaceful elections, but unfortunately it passed as one of the worst elections because for so many people dying on a single, for just a single election, very worried. So I think that it will be good for them to look at these areas. There's time. We need to continue to engage and continue to talk to them.
Well, that issue which is crucial here as well is the trust for the security agencies. Whenever we are going into an election, there's this mistrust on the part of the opposition for the state security, and so now they also get their own party security to also look at things for them. How should that be addressed, that mistrust for the state security in an election?
Well, I think that we must, in one way or the other, also congratulate the current police administration for the way and manner since the IGP took over. They've managed internal elections. In areas where there were excesses, in Cape Coast, I think the youth election among the NDC, some young people were swiftly arrested as far as Chiman or somewhere, or Wenchi somewhere, not in Accra. They trailed them, arrested some of them, and put them before court, which is good. They've managed a good number of, I think, 2 or so by-elections peacefully. They've managed internal elections peacefully. So I want to believe that from what they are doing and what I saw today on TV, they've started quite early instead of the last minute we are used to doing things. Mistrust is key, if you ask me. We need to turn it to be something positive, into something that at the moment the MPP in their most recent election said they are not expecting any bodyguard, not expecting anybody to try and say, I'm bringing my own security. The police is in charge. The NDC did the same, and we have had very peaceful internal elections among the two leading parties in this country. If we carry on with the same message and the same attitude, the same strategy, and try to improve upon it, to look at areas that didn't go well during the the internal election and work on them. I want to believe that anybody who attempts to cheat in the upcoming 2024 December elections, we will be find out. But you see, vigilance amongst us, the citizens. At the end of the day, no security is more potent than the people. And so if we go to sleep, then what is going to happen is that you are going to have goons and thugs who will call themselves, government people or, leaders of political parties coming with thugs to come and disturb the peace of this country during the election. And so I think that they need to begin to build consensus, get the chief imam's office in, get the Christian councils buy-in, get the media buy-in. You get the media buy-in. The media is there to do their independent work. The media, would have to do their work. Media houses, they should begin to think about major media houses must be given, security. They shouldn't let major media houses just have their private security. The Media General is one of the biggest media houses, if it's not the biggest in the country. You have multimedia. You have just a couple of them in Accra, a couple of them in Kumasi. Look for those stations who usually will have men, or, they are reporters all over the country. Station men there. Let those who think they can target these stations know that if you try, we will get you, we will arrest you. They should. So all these things must be factored into the 2024 upcoming election. If we are able to do that, because then 2020, there are certain things that happen in some media houses that some of us were not happy. Even though we saw it, we started talking about it before D-Day and after D-Day. Not much was done by the security. But we have a new police administration who are now working to make sure things work. They shouldn't leave any stakeholder. And in this game, there is no major stakeholder and little stakeholder. You are either in or you are out. And so I think that if they do it that way, then that fear, that sometimes serial callers and those who disagree, those who think that they will shut some media houses up, will know that no, so we can't do that. So they should, earnestly begin to communicate and say, selected media houses are going to be provided security, and they should come up with a yardstick. They should come up with, some way of identifying which media houses would qualify for state security protection, before the elections and after the election. If we are able to do that, I think that the media will do its work. And you and I know, Alfred, that if we are not able to do this, it makes it very difficult for the media houses, who we all know the role they play. Because chances are that some of us are likely to be called in, come and do
some analysis and so on. Yes.
Some of these things during the election. Why would I want to partake in it when I know that a media house is likely to be attacked? But that is not the democracy we are building. And so some of us have started talking to them to fashion out a security plan that would include one of the major stakeholders, the media. Because without the media, there cannot be any prosperous and any successful election in this country. There would be chaos. But if we can protect selected media houses, the police have the what it takes, the wherewithal to do that. And so for me, this will be some of the things that I think we need to begin to let them know that they have to put that in their contemplation, if you ask me.
Appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Dr. Adambona, with your thoughts on this here on Hot Edition as a security analyst. Yes, Jane Adokwe-Mensah, Chair of the Electoral Commission, at this meeting as well.
We are all well aware of the grave security threats we face today where elections are concerned. The evidence of threats to our security confront us on a daily basis. Indeed, elections have become the lifeblood of our society, and people eat, drink, and breathe elections 24 hours a day. We do witness this from the dialogue on our radio and TV on a 24-hour basis. The quest for power today has become so fierce, and nobody and nothing is spared in the quest to attain power.
As Jane Adokwe-Mensah, that is live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and also on W93.5 and Y and beyond. Michael Obodo is standing by with the business news. Billy Shen follows with the sports news right after this quick break.
Hello there and welcome to the business segment here on Hot Edition. Coming up, Africa Center for Energy Policy ACEP observes efficiency in ECG's operations should put the company in a position to be profitable to service its debts. We'll bring you the details shortly. Stay with us. Well, my name is Michael Obodo and thank you for staying with us. Now, the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP, Benjamin Boakye, has observed that the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, should be in a position to pay debts owed independent power producers. He noted that efficiency in ECG's operations should put the company in a position to be profitable. Sonnen Asoglu Power Plant, an independent power producer, temporarily suspended planned indefinite shutdown of its plant following an intervention from the government.
The situation and what we've been praying for, except that it's taking way too long for us to get to that point where the energy sector is treated as business, and therefore we don't have to always engage in a conversation as to why are we owing and why are we not able to service our debts. But we are gradually getting accustomed to owing and not putting in place systems to be able to pay the power sector institutions and agencies. So that's where we are. And that is the reason why we're now seeing these threats.
So that was Benjamin Boakye, who is the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy, ACEP. Now, the Ghana Used Clothing Dealers Association is strongly opposing government's plan to restrict the importation of used clothing. The association argues that the policy would devastatingly impact the businesses and the livelihoods of many Ghanaians, leading to widespread business closures and losses. Edward Atobra Binkler is the General Secretary of the Ghana Used Clothing Dealers Association.
Takes pride in contributing to livelihoods of over 5 million Ghanaians. Out of this workforce, 2.5 million individuals are directly engaged in the used clothing trade, with an additional substantial number working indirectly in related sectors such as kaya, tailoring, fashion designers.
So that was Edward Atobra Binclair, who is the General Secretary of the Ghana Used Clothing Dealers Association. Now, finally, government raised 15.32 billion cedis in treasury bills in November 2023 across the 91 to 364-day bills to cover matured bills worth 10.6 billion cedis. This is a 17% increase over the month of October 2023. The following 3 Business News Desk report has the details.
The 364-day Treasury bill attracted significant investor interest, amassing 2.72 billion cedis in aggregate bids. Despite an average yield decline of 0.05%, closing rates for the 91, 182, and 364-day tenors stood at 29.5%, 31.76%, and 33.23% respectively. Analysts expressed concern about government's heavy reliance on T-bills, anticipating it to limit yield decline in December 2023. This week, the government aims to raise 3.92 billion cedis, a decrease from the previous week's 5 billion cedis plus. Interest rates have resumed an upward trajectory, marking the first increase in a month as the government continues substantial borrowing in the money market to finance its expenditure.
Well, so that was a 3 Business News Desk report. On that note, that will be all for the business segment here on Hot Edition. For more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. My name is Michael Obudu. Thank you for watching. As always, please stay safe. Up next is sports, and Bill is on standby.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Lishen. Now, we start off from Ghana because they have secured qualification for the 2024 Women's Africa Cup of Nations, despite a 1-0 loss to Namibia in the second leg of the final qualifying round. On Tuesday, the Black Queens emerged victorious with a 3-2 aggregate score, having won the first leg by 3-1 in Accra last Friday. This is how the coach, Nora Hopto, reacted after the game.
Play there, and I think a lot of players deserve it. They play some very long time for the Queens, some maybe, for some it's the last WAFCON. We have some young players, for them it's the first time. So in general, we have a very young squad. Need to develop and work, continue our mission Volta. I'm proud of this year. We won out of 10 games, and I think we can have a nice Christmas.
The mission Volta continues, according to head coach Nora Hoptel. Now, defender of the side, Linda Ishen, has stated that the team deserves a place in the WAFCON. Now, Linda was instrumental as the team won the bronze medal in the 2016 WAFCON.
Well, it means everything to us because we've been away from the WAFCON for almost 5 years now. So it's a great achievement. It's good. Like she said, we are a young team. They are upcoming, so we're going to improve on every aspect of the game.
We're going to improve, according to Linda Shen, a defender for the Black Queens. Now, to some European football, Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola has expressed confidence that his team will win a record 4th straight Premier League title this season, despite their recent draws against Chelsea, Liverpool, and Tottenham. Our City has slipped to 3rd place, 3 points behind leaders Arsenal, but Guardiola believes his team can get the job done by the end of the season.
My feeling today, we're going to win the Premier League. People don't believe it already. It was 3 draws, but yeah, we're going to do it again, knowing that it's not easy. No team have done it yet. So that's why the difficulty is there. So it was last season, it was this season, but if you ask me today what you're feeling, we're going to do it again.
That was Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola. Now, before I do go, here are the fixtures in the Premier League for tonight. Wolves will be facing Burnley and Luton will be hosting league leaders Arsenal. That brings an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hearts Edition. My name is Billy Shen, and up next is entertainment with Noella.
Well, good evening and welcome to the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition. My name is Noella Donko. Now, first story, renowned gospel minister Nathaniel Bassey has advocated for Ghanaian psalmists to produce more songs in English to have better global crossover impact. Now, he made this passionate appeal during his ministration at the just ended Jesus Christ Encounters concert in Accra, Ghana, that happened on December 2. Now, he acknowledged the anointing on Ghanaian gospel ministers, but expressed concern that their global recognition is hindered by their local dialects. In some more stories, legendary Ghanaian dancehall artist Samini has stated that the popular South African music genre Amapiano is essentially a rebranded version of Ghana's iconic Azonto. Now, Samini emphasized that Amapiano borrows heavily from the composing elements of Azonto, which gained widespread popularity across various countries during its heyday in a recent radio interview. Now, while acknowledging that Amapiano originated in South Africa as a subgenre of house music in the mid-2010s, Samini insisted that the similarities between the two genres are too prominent to ignore. Now, finally, here on the entertainment segment, it will be recalled that some 8 months ago, news broke of a lawsuit filed against Canadian rapper Drake by Obrafour for sampling the remix of his song Oyo Hene. Now, after the story broke, concerns were raised as to whether everyone on the song was included in the lawsuit, and someone has finally spoken. Ahama, who was the producer of the song, has stated that everyone who was involved in the song's production stands to benefit if the court rules in favor of Obrafour. He further added that although Obrafour is the one leading the charge, it was a consensual decision and everyone is aware. Well, that brings us to the end of the entertainment news segment here on Hot Edition. My name is Noella. Well, that's it for the Hot Edition today. Thank you so much for spending your 1 hour with us on radio. Catch us same time tomorrow with Alfred. He'll be back here to give you some more stories. At the same time, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. will be on your radio. Do enjoy the rest of the evening.
FM 92.7 Urban Life.